I'm glad you did me right here, parents, because I told them that they're never going to have a friendlier, more welcoming, more approving audience. So can we give it up for these students tonight? It's really hard what I'm asking them to do, so not one of us should take it for granted. Okay, Ursula Leonards. So her quick facts. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is her guide. The beast is Dirk. The sin is using a toilet and not flushing. The punishment is stuck in a pit of bodily fluids. And the sinners are Brad and Braylon. They're not real people, they're just names I hate, she says. Ursula is exactly 1 week away from being 15 and lives in Buckland. She is a social person who enjoys spending quality time with her dog and friends. Ursula enjoys traveling, running or going for walks, visiting her grandparents, and is enlightened when living in the spring and summer seasons. Along with her friends, she is participating in the Dartmouth College Model UN. Please welcome Ursula.
I just want to say David did such a good job, so mine definitely can't beat it. But,
oh, let's not do that.
Yeah, but I hope you like it.
Self-deprecation deserves its own circle.
No, I'm Okay. Whilst ascending through the cave, we avoid the crumbling shards of rock. It is dark yet warm from fury. Still, in the presence of my guide, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I feel able to avoid the shock. Inching closer, I can feel the ground beat. It makes me billow up too, like a boiling pot, but motivated, I swallow the heat. The creature, man, beast, something, blocks our approach. The reek of rotting crap provides a dizzy sensation, but I am roused when I see how he stands unwavering as we encroach. Who are these tiny, feeble beings daring to near me? Dirk roars. I begin to doubt my inner purpose. You can't speak those words without considering your own faults, Ruth responds from her core. If you don't let us pass, she will surely be cast. Taken aback by her power, Dirk falters to the congealed floor of hell. Without his consciousness, we proceed fast. Though we pass that barrier, I sense billowness up ahead. Our footsteps crunch disturbingly loud. My guide just gives me a look and oscillates her head. The aroma from before has turned into something quite unbearable. Every whiff is a rotting stench, likely a combination of bodily fluids incomparable. Up ahead, one can make out a dark pit, almost a lake. It's turning and writhing as though alive and ready to swallow those nearby. My guide to me. These souls have committed quite an obnoxious mistake. Reaching the edge of the mass, the souls are toiling within. The goop inside consists of poop, vomit, dead skin, pee, snot, saliva, everything. Seeing this, I want to leave my skin. They're rather ugly and seem to be festering away. Two stand out to me, more presentable and tolerable looking, and I call them to come our way. The wriggling slime holds them back, but they manage. What does one call you? I ask them as they arrive. Brad and Braylon, they respond, looking severely damaged. What has caused this awful sight? My guide trails off as she stares with a scowl. It's really quite embarrassing. I respond, well, you're already foul. The souls consider my response through deep decision. The lavatory was used and not flushed. In reaction, our faces go through a sort of division. This is a huge pet peeve of mine, but I must remain respectful. Well, I suppose we've all done this accident from time to time. I don't think you understand, Oscar responds. Brad. This became a common thing, and we don't know why. I start to feel less bad for their inhabitants in the yuck pond. My guide to me. Well, doesn't this make you feel less bad about your self-control? Yes, absolutely. I think anyone would feel that way. With a look of revulsion on our faces, we part ways with the souls. Somehow this has given me the confidence that I will indeed make it. I know that my guide will give me providence.
Next up is Sophia. Sophia's guide is Maya Angelou. The beast is a large man-like figure that is described as less than human. The sin is insulting, assaulting, and taking advantage of women. Punishment, the souls of men who sinned are stuck in a tar pit to symbolize how they got women stuck in awful situations and didn't let them get anywhere. The hailstorm is pelting them like the insults they gave to women, and their eyes are peeled open because in life they could not see the problems they caused for women. Sinner, an unknown man. Sophia Mason is a 14-year-old who lives in Heath, Massachusetts. She loves to play music and is in 2 bands outside of school, as well as 3 bands in school this semester. She also enjoys playing frisbee, skiing, running, and playing basketball. She joined the academy in 7th grade, and she and many of her friends joined the Model UN this year. Please welcome Sophia Mason.
My trusty guide and I moved on to face another layer with might and a new lesson to be thrown upon. A giant wall rose up to sight, and a hunched shadow crept away from the polder. Our hearts beat hard with terror and fright. With big arms and shoulders and shaggy dark hair, though it moves without noise as it shifts through the boulders. Who goes there? Growled a voice. It was loud, broken, hungry, and rose unconstrained. Its breath felt cold and sticky and moist. Maya Angelou's reply was strong but faint. Those who you love but think are not strong, we command to pass through your hard iron gate. The beast snarled another reply. Why come here, for you do not belong? Prove yourself if what you say is true, or those wretched souls will do you wrong. And Maya back, we will not run away from frights like you, for we are not afraid, this is fate. Step out of the way and let us through. He hammered open the rusty gate with crashing shoulders and let us by. Upon entry, we felt the weight of every burden and every cry, from a pit of tar, sinking and stinking, and the hailstorm whipping and ripping by. Their eyes forced open and unblinking, though they are either way blind and flailing and kicking. Out of the goop one rose undefined, he said with a nasty smirk, "It's been a long time since I've seen one of your kind." Though his tone was low, he spoke with such quirk. He faked an endearing smile and got right to his work. You reach out your hand, my dear, and give me a lift out of this rotting bile. You won't regret it, my dear. And my guide to him, playing tricks on me is not worth your while. I was afraid and captured by fear, while she kicked him back in and exclaimed, "This is what we deal with through our pain and our tears." "It is nothing but disgusting," I claimed. She agreed, "It is not, and those who have sinned this way should be ashamed." Thank you.
Do any of you have a Honda Fit?
No.
No one has a Honda Fit.
Yes,
Okay, it's probably maybe your car that's going berserk. Okay, then I don't know. All right, hopefully that doesn't happen again because I feel like I'm in my own personal hell every time that goes on. You're doing a great job not breaking concentration over there. I'm losing my mind. Okay. Coco Ganzi-Boudier. Quick facts. Her guide is Joan of Arc. The beast is a decaying, scary lady, but she will not feature in the part that Coco is reading tonight, unfortunately. The sin is taking from others or abusing power. The punishment is being eaten alive by animals repeatedly. And the sinner is Christopher Columbus. Coco is not a 90-year-old woman from Jersey City. She is an avid reader, a lover of nature, and she enjoys long walks in thunderstorms. Her favorite genres are fantasy, horror, and comedy. She may become a world dictator, so clap at the end of her canto, just in case. In her free time, you'll find her reading in a tree, plotting the fall of her enemies, or researching marine wildlife. Please welcome Coco.
I look around as we follow a stone path. The dim light of tortured spirit irradiates the trail we travel. The longer we walk, the more unbearable it becomes. Is this God's wrath? A sudden cry from beside me burns my bones to ice. Rigid, frozen in place, I watch a man stuck knee-deep in the ground as his torture reflects his vile vice. Swarmed by mosquitoes the size of a quarter that suck blood until they burst, leaving behind purulent pockmarks, blood and pus mixing as they drip, creating an oozy, shining layer coating his body. Rats and mice with cruel teeth like piranhas tear chunks of flesh off till skin and muscle give way to bone. His shrieks of suffering consistent like a mantra. Small songbirds with sweet melodies and unassuming blue-gray feathers force him to atone, pecking out his eyes with a vicious hunger. Cockroaches claim the carcass, pouring out of every orifice, muffling a strangled moan. Once they are satisfied, they scurry away. The bare and broken skeleton lies there as if savoring the moment until again it begins a gruesome display. Bones snap into place like wood cracking in a dying fire. Muscles reform, growing like a gory fungus along the man's stark frame. By the time his skin spreads and his hair tears through his scalp like bamboo, his screams drip with fear and ire. The animals return to feast on this all-you-can-eat buffet of a person. I cringe at this everlasting horror. Spare no sympathy for this greedy urchin, Joan of Arc orders, sneering as his torture he relives. This is Christopher Columbus, a man who believed whatever he laid eyes on belonged to him, a man who took and took from others till they had nothing left to give. He took possessions, he took land, he took family, he took lives, he took history. Now justice takes from him, it takes his skin, it takes his muscle, it takes his flesh and hair, it takes his power, it takes again and again, just as he did. In death he shall never again have victory. When I look back at the soul of this evil man being devoured by animals, no shudder of sympathy rushes down my back. I feel this is what he deserves. I'd have more sympathy for a cannibal. I walk with more confidence, knowing that I don't belong in this place, thankful that I won't spend eternity here where gasoline, rotten eggs, death, and Sharpie marker band together to burn my nostrils, making my eyes water till tears trickle down my face.
I should have mentioned that their teacher loves potty humor, and the grosser the better, so they were strongly encouraged. But Sharpie marker was all cocoa. It makes me laugh every time. Okay, Luca Tofkan. So, Luca's quick facts. His guide is Jesper Jader. Okay. The beast is a giant forehead. Just a forehead. The sin is having a big forehead. I wonder who inspired this. No, it wasn't me. Somebody else in the room. You'll find out. The punishment is being blinded by the light coming off of the floating forehead. And the sinner is Brianna. Luca is 14. He loves skiing, soccer, and hockey. His forehead is only 2.5 inches tall and around 5 inches wide, and it is cracked at Genshin Impact.
What? No.
I guess somebody else put that. Please welcome Luca Tofkan.
I would just like to say that Schmidt did not inspire this.
Okay.
Yeah. Possible. Me and Jesper stood staring in awe at the big forehead floating there, his golden hat glowing with the radiation of the light coming from the forehead. We soon started walking briskly towards it. By the time we got there, we were tired, and it appeared the forehead was too, showing us a yawn coming from its eyes. I rested a while, and when I felt ready, we started walking again, hoping the forehead would let us pass. Suddenly, I was blinded. A booming voice yelling, "How dare you pass? Your forehead is not big enough." To which my guide says, "I believe I can," taking off his golden Red Bull hat to reveal a very big forehead, saying, "This should be big enough for the both of us." The forehead thought for a second, finally breaking the silence with, "Very well." As we walked, we saw the souls scratching at their eyes until their faces looked rough, with the skin torn half off their face. We saw men, women, and children crying, seemingly filling up buckets to try to drown themselves. Rihanna, with the biggest forehead I had seen since we started walking, seemed to be crying the hardest of all the people there. We soon saw drilling, filling up a pool with water to reflect the blinding light even more. All of a sudden, we saw Rihanna again. She had stopped crying, so as I liked under my umbrella, I decided to talk to her. Me and Jesper walked over to her and asked what she had done to be there, though we both already knew the answer. She teared up again, saying, "It's a mistake. My forehead is not as big as it looked on the Burj Khalifa, I promise." I replied, "There are pictures. I've seen them myself." Rihanna then says, "It was the angle of the picture. It was the producer's fault. The picture is from a bit of advertising I did for the Burj Khalifa. Please," she said, "when you go back to the living, tell them it is not true. I do not belong here." After we had said goodbye and agreed to tell the living that she did not belong here, we began to walk again, the light blinding, beginning to make us lose our vision of what we set out to do. Sitting down, and just as I was about to cover my eyes, I noticed a large familiar face floating for a second. I didn't believe my eyes. Then I realized it was my friend Casey. His mouth opened wide, glowing white as though drawing me to a door. I told Jesper and took charge, leading the way through winding pathways, the screams echoing throughout, like the screams you hear on roller coasters, except without the joy. As we went along, the people looked more and more desperate, clawing at their ears and eyes as though they were trying to rip the seams that kept them apart, together. Eventually, the walls got so tall you could not see past them, with an opening at the end of the maze. We started sprinting towards it, excited to finally be out of this hellhole. The walls got shorter, blocks started to come out at eye level, making us duck and dip. Finally, we made it. In front of us was the head, a glowing door in the middle. Me and Jesper look at it in awe, and finally, we both step through into the next level of our journey.
Okay. So, Nola, you're up next. Here are her quick facts. One of my favorite guides, Johnny Cash. The beast is a bloody ghost. The sin is murder. And punishment means that they're going to be torn apart and tortured by the earth, and we have an unknown sinner. Nola Grignafini is 14 years old, and she loves to spend her time playing banjo and guitar. She also enjoys swimming, baking, and playing frisbee in the spring. Nola lives in Shelburne Falls with her family and 5 of her dogs, cats, and chickens. Please welcome Nola.
Okay, so where I stand, it is neither day nor night. The wet and gore-soaked ground sticks to my feet like honey, and as the mist collects in front of me, I have no sight. The stench of blood, death, and mold stings in my nose and burns in my eyes like ash, and the air is so heavy it feels too much to even hold. As I feel the piercing wind slash against my bare skin, I continue to follow my guide, Johnny Cash. Shrieks and cries full of much pain run through my ears. It feels as if a million spikes are scraping across my brain. I moan in sadness and discomfort. The musician sees this and speaks. These souls who have taken lives without reason now shall endure the same agony repeatedly. Though I am aware of his woven words, the grappling souls surrounding us still make me feel hollow inside, even if they are getting what they deserve. Suddenly, I am distracted by a soul who hovers in front of me. As he speaks, it sounds as if it hurts as he contracts his weak words. He says, "Why are you here? Why do you choose to experience this fate worse than death? Will you help me?" I am suddenly then interrupted by a scream full of such serious pain. I watch in horror as roots weave in and out of the soul, as rocks peel off the skin like sandpaper, and as the soul's eyes burst from their sockets, leaving little scars shaped like bowls. In the mouth of his soul, the blood boils and bubbles out in a constant flow, though the arms of the blood-drained, now contorted body dig its grave in the soil. Suddenly, everything goes black. As I lift my heavy lids to see where I am, I realize I am being hauled over my guide's back. As we approach this bridge in hell, as we approach the bridge in hell to our as we approach the bridge to our final platform in hell, I try to find the guard of our next hellish destination, the next beast of some kind. My eyes focus on a deadly creature who appeared as if to be made out of glands and mist. She reeked of dead carcass and had blood dripping from her hands. She asks us, "Why do you choose to cross?" My guide explains our reasons, but this is not enough for this beast of death. "What do you have for me?" she asks, floating down on a bed of dead moss. My guide stands puzzled, not knowing what to say. Then I look at my guide's hand, clutched around something small. He gives it to the guard, whose lips are now curled in a wicked grin. To my surprise, she stands out of the way. I ask in intense curiosity what this exchange was, but my guide does not say. As we walk across this final bridge, leaving screams of these souls' victims in the past, I wonder what type of platform is next and how long it will last.
Jackson is up. His quick facts. His guide is Sisyphus. His beast is Drake, which he so helpfully labeled for me because he thinks I'm too old to know who Drake is. I really appreciated that. The sin is people wasting their lives. The punishment is unique punishments. And the sinner is Luca Toscan. Please, oh no, I'm reading about Jackson Cinder is 14. He lives in Turner's Falls in Ethel. He is invested in staying active and enjoys staying social with his friends on WhatsApp. Am I really supposed to read aloud your addresses so these people contact you? At Jackson Cinder on Instagram and at Jackson Cinder on WhatsApp. Please welcome Jackson Cinder.
Okay. As my guide, Sisyphus, escorts me towards one of the circles, the gate towering over the circle itself, yet it doesn't block out the cries and yells. In front of the gate sits the beast Drake, laughing smugly to himself while watching the souls go by. Resting across his neck lays a giant snake. The snake's eyes glow a deep red, matching the brightness of a star. The scales sharp like blades to match its teeth. We make our way closer to the gate through the tar. Only the deceased shall enter this gate. This circle is merely for souls who have wasted their lives, shouted the beast while standing over us as if we were bait. God himself has sent us on this journey through hell. You must allow us to pass, confronts my trusty guide, Sisyphus. Reluctantly, Drake stands aside to let us through the gate. The moment we enter the circle, the atmosphere is thick with dread and regret. The circle at a slope, slowly declining down further into the darkness. Thousands of souls, barely recognizable, all with unique punishments and deaths. The wails and cries echoing off the walls, hearing every bit of pain. Seems that the further we walk, the darker it gets and the louder the noise. All the souls sentenced here forever with nothing to gain. We get approached by one soul, more sorrowful than the others, Luca Toscan. Emerges from the deep shadows, for he wasted his life being materialistic. He wasted his time and money on shoes, in which he was not able to recover. Spare me from this prison of hell, the sorrowful soul wailed. For his punishment is to receive a new pair of shoes, then to crease them before acquiring another pair. Luca creasing the shoes, one after another, like he's done it 1,000,000 times. The paleness of his face standing out from the others. I've done nothing wrong, the soul pleads. Yet you stay here serving your punishment, I argue back. We turn away from Luca, We turn away as Luca collapses to his knees. The wasted soul begs for help and for freedom, none of which we can give to him. We must move on, my guide says to me, where this soul can't come. I'm guided down the slope of the circle towards the end. The echoes slowly get quieter with every step. Now only a few souls remain, laying down while their hands extend. We finally exit the circle of the souls who wasted their lives, of which they lack, with no intention of ever coming back.
Okay. Brooke Lane, quick facts. Her guide is Ryan Reynolds. The beast is the Loch Ness Monster. The sin is greed. The punishment is not looking at what they got. And the sinner is Nessie. Brooke Lane is 14 years old and she likes to play Heyday and cook. She is a current 9th grader at the Academy at Charlemont and she lives in Vermont, which is in fact the superior state.
Ryan Reynolds sighs as we reach the floor. A mangled beast emerges. What might you be doing at this door? The breath of the beast lurches. My mouth fills with vile vomit. Its body looks so messed up. The stories you would hear about, frankly slouches. The beast is a Loch Ness Monster, a villain. Not what humans thought, I must insist. Its eyes were so cold, I doubt the bottom of hell was nearly as cold. The beast looks down at me and grabs me with a gasp. This is the human I've heard about, no doubt. Its breath stinks of rotten flesh, so I have to gasp. Yes, I am, I scream and shout. My soul is flailing all about. Why should I let you roam all around, it asks. Ryan Reynolds comes to my saving and he tells him about my days with a shout. Her days here have been rough, there is no safe and sound. I leave it up to Ryan Reynolds and I walk around. My feet are colder. I look around and I am shaking. This floor isn't as bad as the last floor where I look around at the souls. The souls here were moving around like dancing, but yet they aren't dancing. Their eyes look rotten. The smell of rotten food catches me off guard and I start coughing. I turn around to leave. There I saw a soul I once knew. Why are you running? Your feet look so broken, I yell. She looks so dark and dim, even a little bit blue. It was my old friend, now dead and dim. It's everything I've been wanting, I'm sure. She shouts, not looking at me once. I slow down her running. There's everything you could ever want around this ring. She was following a gold ball glowing. It was in a lure. Her eyes were memorized by the ball. The ball looked so golden and so pure. It almost got the best of me. Please stop running. I want to talk to you some more. I start speeding up my walking. I have to catch it, and if I don't, what am I supposed to do? Red flashes in my eyes. You're filled with greed, can't you see? The heat of the moment catches up to me. I trip her eyes still locked in the orb. Your soul is rotted. I turn her face down to the floor. Her screams fill the air. No, let me catch it, let me go. Her eyes turn to looking dead and black as can be. She looks around and at me. It's all your fault, can't you see? I'm going to miss it now, she shouts and screams. I let her go. Her heart is filled with greed. The ground shakes below me as the beast comes up to me. How dare you defy my wishes? The floor rumbles, I tremble. He picks me up and tosses me out. I do not fight as he yells for us to leave. I can tell you found the person you're looking for. That's what hell is like, Ryan Reynolds says with a smirk. I answer by pushing him down the stairs.
Okay, Eli Grunberg. Eli facts, trademark. She says that. The guide, Dave the weather nut. The beast, a thunderstorm. Sin wasting food, punishment, food dangling in front of their faces, and the sinners are those who waste food. Eli Grunberg is a 9th grader who attends the academy at Charlemont. He enjoys cars, baking delectable desserts, drawing, and the beauty that is hospitality. As an avid weather enthusiast, he sends his reports to the National Weather Service on a regular basis. This year, he has decided to join the Dartmouth Model United Nations. He enjoys arguing and victoriously proving people wrong. Bah ha 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 ha. Just kidding, smiley face. He currently resides in Shelburne, Massachusetts. Please welcome Eli Grunberg.
I'm not sure who edited my thing, but that was not very nice. Dave pays the weather nut, my guide and I enter Circle 3. We come across a supercell thunderstorm. A wall cloud I eyed in the distance. My vision is lost to a forward flank downdraft pulling down rain and hail, obscuring a possible tornado. Dave's lips are puckered round, his hands are trembling. He is fumbling, yet we walked. There might be a tornado behind the wall cloud, and we'd walk straight into it because it's blocked by the rain. Will we be able to get through? Locked where there is no Wi-Fi or cell service. We are in a radar hole anyway, so there's no way to know. To my surprise, he gradually pulls out his computer, keeping his head low, even in this layer. He is able to see the radar even from below. He's navigating us around the storm, so when conditions fair, still moving. As all comes into view, we see the tortured dread in the eyes of the hungry souls with their mouths watering. They stare at the slices of delectable cake dangling from strings just above their head. I overhear, I'm hungry. These are the ones who wasted food. I replied, you shouldn't have been wasting all that bread, so this is what you get. Because you misconstrued that are people who need food and don't have enough. The souls retort, but life is only so long, and sometimes you have to have fun and make the best of things for yourself and stop thinking about other people for a while. I keep on going. Dave puffs, leading the way. Dirt coats the ground, and there's not much else for miles. The yummy smell of gourmet food and perfectly baked cakes wafts through the air. I watch the piles of mousse sandwiched by sponges taunt the souls' faces till they break. We come to the edge of the stone ridge and can nearly see the next level down. Looking back at the dangling cake, I become weakened and flee. Hungry I faint while the next beast appears on the ground.
Charlotte, you're up. Her guide is Sylvia Plath. Her beast is a swamp woman named Genevera. Did I pronounce that correct? Ginevra? I think you spelled it wrong then. The sin is envy. The punishment is painful shifting into different figures so that they are forced to forget who you were in life since they never appreciated themselves. And the sinner is unnamed. Charlotte Williams is a 14-year-old and lives in Heath, Massachusetts. She spends most of her time reading, writing, and playing and listening to music. She enjoys sports, such as soccer and ultimate frisbee, and most forms of art, especially drawing and sculpting. She lives on a small farm with her family of 4, and along with her friends, she decided to join Model UN this year, and now knows an excessive amount of facts about Sudan. She's in a band with her friends that play in small venues, but hopes to grow in skill and publicity. Please welcome Charlotte Williams.
My strides are cautious and long as I dismount the dilapidated canoe and trek down the wavering path. The unyielding grip of Sylvia Plath calling me along. I still can't fathom being guided by the legendary poet through such a dreaded place as hell. All the knowledge I seek, she will bestow it. Incessant shrieks funnel through my ears. A tall, hunched woman emerges out of the murky depths, drowning out the soul's muffled tears. Cadaverous and frail, the woman is stripped of her humanity. The warmth of her skin long since drained, her face pale and sickly. For what reason have you come? She says in an oddly alluring voice. I gawk at her height and resolute gaze.
To turn around now would be the shrewd choice. We only come to observe, says my guide, attempting to pass through the rusted gate, yet the woman breaks her stride. The souls here refuse to accept their fate. I suggest you adhere to yours. I shoot Sylvia Plath a questioning gaze. These souls held envy within them, and they yearned to be someone else. They are forced to be now that they have met their end. How can we earn passage? I ask, quivering under her monstrous height. I was once the fair woman Ginevra. These souls commended, now only induce fright. She circles me, drinking in my every motion. The warped ivy dangling from her tapering ears brushes my pale skin. For you I sense some envy within. You would fit in nicely with these tortured souls, the woman says as she swiftly swings open the bolted gate. As I take in the sight of these sorry waifs she controls, my eyes meet one soul whose features begin to change. Her bones contort beneath her mud-caked skin, and she cries out with rage. Her limbs enlarge, streaming blood from the stretched, cracking skin, and her hair retracts into her blistering scalp. Now warped and distorted, she appears less than human. She shifts and changes before my eyes, blood spewing from her twisted joints. No longer a woman, a man does rise. I approach the man carefully, careful not to trip over the horde of mangled bodies. His misshapen head hung awkwardly on a narrow neck, his disheveled black hair swinging in the fetid breeze. What do they call you, sir? Sylvia Plath asks as I gaze at the mud-flooded spaces. The man says, trembling like the flitting flame of a dying candle, my name has been lost in the sea of faces. When I was living, I never accepted myself. I've forgotten my name and my purpose. Instead, I reside in the bodies of everyone else. Surrounding us lie hundreds of souls, bones snapping and collecting in new forms, who seldom approved of the gifts God bestowed upon them, and now seeing them disfigured and misshapen, they must wish they had conformed. I ponder, my mind drowning out the wailing of the hapless race, and the cries and begs for mercy. I continue down the blood-ridden path.
Jack is up. His guide is William Wordsworth. The beast is a stinking fog. The sin is sloth. The punishment, baking via a lake of boiling oil, while ropes pull open gashes beneath each limb, therefore baking them from the inside out, because oil is seeping into all of the cuts. Ooh. Jack Palmer is nearly 15 years old and resides in the towns of Northampton and Amherst. Works of his include all of the unfinished novels, scraps, and a cosmic book of nothingness, in which he started when he was 9 years of age. His hobbies include roller skating, basketball, music, and various video games. Lots of video games. He has multiple siblings, including his hilarious brother Oliver and two completely identical twin sisters, Rowan and Rayla. Please welcome Jack Palmer.
The descent into madness was extremely grueling, the sounds of chains rattling from below, accompanied by screams of people and their bonds dueling. The descent came to a pause as we met the ground, as I looked out at the structure before us, as the architecture that stood before us was anything but sound. Tread lightly, my dear visitor, for what stands before you is the springs of sloth. But beware, my dear friend, for this place lacks a limiter. As we drudged out into the Sog, even Wordsworth began to shake, for we were starting to fade into a thick fog. But suddenly we stumbled upon a massive dome with the stench of blaze billowing out, for the entrance was coated in a slick chrome. As we passed through the chrome-covered arch, the screams of the tortured echoed through us. The both of us shivered as we trekked through the unholy march. For what sprawled about the landscape was mentally scarring, as the stench of flesh was pushing back at me. For what looked like a pool of the damned was extremely jarring. All of the souls before us bore deep cuts beneath their limbs. The sound of a torturous and crisp baking could be heard, for as we followed the narrow path which pain only climbs. Suddenly, through the thick fog jogged a steep incline, making the climb I could not help but feel like a hog. At the incline's peak stood a pedestal of frog, and its mere presence shook us. But oh, the text we never took stock. Hear ye, for all who shall listen, for here lies the unholy sloths, for the fiery oil shall make them glisten. Eternally strange shall they be in agony, for oil shall seep slowly into the wounds they bear. As the last word was spoken, my demeanor was raggedy. From the unholy souls rises an aura whose vibe is only a bit brighter than the others. It's puzzling how such a pure aurora of a soul could have such a frightening demeanor. His face was almost the opposite of what I had imagined him to be, for as a snake gets aggressive when its nest intruded on, he only got meaner. Giacchino Rosini was a lazy soul, alright, for as a child wrongly scolds his parent, he started to mutter with all of his might. Cease your mumbling, dog, for after a question or two you will educate us about your life. First, what is the purpose of this stinking fog? The thunderous voice of my guide shook the poor soul. He spoke, the fog serves as the hound that guards this wretched place. Its stench wears and tears at all who reside here like its shoes sole. And as for my story, it's one that not many have heard before. It goes a bit like this. All throughout my life, I was only a bit lazy, and by the time that I was 46, I was constantly bored. By God's word, apparently I had accumulated much by the time I was dead, but the real mistake I made was glossing past the statement the Father had made. I remember an instance of where I was composing in bed, and as a leaf drifts in the autumn wind, my sheet was tossed about the air, but it seemed my bottom was pinned to the very seat that I streamed about upon. I tried to lift myself, but I could not bring myself to react, so I decided that it would be better that I would just restart this masterpiece of a song, and it would just happen to be a nail in the coffin, for I did things similar to this very often.
Okay, Katya, you're up. Katya's guide is Amelia Earhart. Her beast is a gremlin. The sin is apathy. The punishment is a cliff. And the sinner is an unknown sinner. Katya Gebersma is 15 and lives in Jacksonville, Vermont with her family. Although she spends a lot of time on academics, she likes to play soccer, basketball, and frisbee. She joined Model UN this year, and although it is a stressful experience, she now knows a lot more about the United Arab Emirates than the average person would know. She spends most of her time playing guitar, piano, and singing. Please welcome Katya.
From the marsh of wounds, of cutting words that sliced against the skin, a broken radio that plays a crooked tune. She led me to the top of a cliff whose edge swirled with tormented screams and desperate pleas, corrupt and hidden like oysters with dirty pearls. "Oh, guide, what is this you have brought upon the both of us?" I asked of her, wincing at the pain of the tortured thought. "We come to the cliff of apathy," the pilot said. "You will see the gashes they receive for when they rejected the needs of a friend." I stepped back as a figure came near. It was long and tall and kicked at the hands reaching over the cliff, with a misshapen head and large leaf-shaped ears. It gestured at me and growled so deep, the land shook beneath us, but my guide, she stood steady and said, "You shall not reap." He stamped his foot but backed away. He continued to kick at the grappling hands, stepping on them, making sure that they paid. "The gremlin," my brave guide explained, "does to them what they did to others. They need help, but receive nothing but pain." We peered over the cliff and stared at the souls, pulling and climbing and reaching for us. They screamed for help, and they stretched their hands so close. Looking more deeply, I recognized a face, a crooked politician from long ago. He started to speak. "Please, dear girls, you have any grace. Save this poor man before he falls into abyss. Help him, for he is suffering wrongly. When I turn my back on these people, I didn't think I'd get this." Part of me lurched to help the suffering old fraud, but the stronger part held back with disgust. "No, you will not get help. You deserve what you got." Leaving the gremlin in the hands of the desperate, the shrill screams of broken promises regretted. They paid no mind at the time, but now they pay for it. My guide took my hand and we turned from the cliff. Walking into the dusty fog, I felt our feet lift.
Okay, Casey. Casey's guide is Nicki Minaj. The beast is a golem. The sin is greed, the punishment is drowning in greed, and the sinner is Simon Cowell. Okay. Casey's a man of few words. This is a very small bio. Casey Bessler is 15 years old and lives in Shelburne Falls. He plays soccer. He lives in a house with his parents. Please welcome Casey Bessler.
Do I have to have a mic?
You're okay.
Okay.
It's going to catch your voice anyway, so you're good.
As my footfalls beat the sand, my guide leads me forward through a dusty, barren wasteland. Ahead, I see an endless wall, dark and imposing as the impending nightfall. My guide to me. Behind the wall's gate flows the river of greed, and flowing with it is the sinner's fate. As the gate draws near, a small figure takes shape, and it provokes little fear. The guardian at the gate, blotchy and slight, pale of skin, its bald head reflects the light. Hollow yet piercing, pale gray eyes rattle me to my core, despite their owner's small size. My guide cried out, "We must get through." The creature replied, "This you cannot do." "If you cause us grief and sorrow," said my guide, "a higher power will ensure you never see the light of tomorrow." The beast at the gate asks what it will get in return. We respond, "We will set you up on a date." The frail beast lets us go, something the beast at the gate had not done since long ago. As the huge iron gate swung forth with a whoosh, the river of greed was revealed with sinners old and young, drowning in their own greed and lust, their smothering eternal as their bones begin to rust. Tossing and turning in what they so desperately needed in life, now betrayed them in death as if struck in the back with a knife. One of these souls grabbed onto our boat, gasping for breath, trying to stay afloat. I hauled him up without a second thought. He sniffled and wiped away a disdainful line of snot. "Thank you, my Savior," said the soul. "Now I can finally speak. My name is Simon Cowell. In life, I was greedy for fame and power. In my haste, I forgot to shower. In my filth and grease were eventually my downfall, when I slipped in my own slime, leading for my life to cease. Now I grovel in endless admiration, never able to breathe or escape the fame of my own creation." Feeling no sympathy for the soul, I pushed him off the boat without trial or parole. We speed off on our boat, never looking back and remembering nothing to note.
Let's see if Casey's talking to me tomorrow. Rachel, you're up. Rachel's beast is Rikako. The sin is narcissism. Rikako? Okay, Rikako. Sorry. These are made-up names. How am I supposed to know? Okay, punishment is gnawing, arguing with each other, ripping out each other's hair and teeth, and fighting for the top. Rachel Strykarts is a 14-year-old living in Sunderland, Mass. She has been dancing almost her whole life, and she will be performing next weekend at Beauty and the Beast at the Academy of Music. She enjoys a variety of music from Taylor Swift to Dirty Heads, as well as the piano versions of all the popular songs during the 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. ballet classes, like 9 to 5 by Dolly Parton. Really? You're so weird. She typically spends her free time watching shows or doing more ballet. Please welcome Rachel Strykarts.
I walk into the dark, bloody forest. As I step further, it's cold and wet. There is but a drop of light now in the frost, shining through, as God cannot get to these depths. As I take another step forward, my foot slides into a puddle. Before it comes to view, my guide hushes me, for a new beast is standing in front of me. Rikako's face is in a curling smile creased permanently. long hair twisted down their back, debris twisted and intertwined. Their face still plastered with glue. Open cuts and scrapes with maggots and blood dripping down on their neck to their ankles. Their eyes have been replaced with dark, soulless pits with more maggots and fleas crawling out of the holes where life once used to be. I move my eyes down, tracing the lines of fresh blood as it drips to the floor, pooling. My eyes crawl back up to see that there is blood dripping out of their ankles and bones poking out where it looks like feet once used to be. The bones broke off like it was torn off by the ravaging teeth of feral dogs, hungry for the flesh of any beings that they can get their teeth on. Before either me or my guide can speak a word, Rikako's mouth opens, their foaming mouth. Who gave you the word to come down here, where the light cannot touch, where the sinners come to be punished with their own? For you are not dead, you have not committed such sins they have. Their mouth with rows of teeth falling out as they speak, and blood pooling in their mouth, their hands catching a few drops as they move in question. My guide to them. We have the word of God, as you have no power over his word. We shall continue our path as it is God's intention. The beast's head turned to the side, looking behind them, pausing for a moment, thinking. You shall pass to get to your destination, but be warned, for there are souls in here that you shall not communicate with. Rikako gestures to the side, showing me and my guide a path into the dark. My eyes focus. I see the path through the forest, leading to a group of souls arguing with one another. As I step closer, my guide holds me back. Do not disturb them, for that is their punishment. They have always thought they were above other people, so now they fight, gnawing at each other and screaming without their hair and teeth. While I listen to the words he speaks, a blood-curdling scream, followed by another and another, rings through the cold, muddy, thick air.
Yay, maggots. Alright, Callum's quick facts. His beast is Yoda. His sin is murdered people. The punishment is brutally getting ripped apart with their entrails falling out. The sinner is Jack the Ripper. Callum Watkin is a 14-year-old student at the Academy at Charlemont, living in the beautiful state of Vermont. He is a very intellectual person and is always right. Could have fooled me, Callum. I don't know. Callum is always striving to better himself and his community around him. This young writer who has experience with poetry in the past will be presenting to you his poem inspired by Dante's Inferno. He'll be doing the grand unveiling of The Last Circle, Bloody Entrails, his latest poem. Please welcome Callum Watkin.
All right, bloody entrails. Struck full of fear, I wandered to the next miserable ring of punishment. I sat there, struck by what I saw, and I pondered. Now revealed to me the harsh air of a burning house very near, with rusted blades deadly as a snare. Every step, the bloody throng, feeling their way through this maze of knives, trying to hold on to a life that has been robbed. In the distance, I see a green shimmer, the blade reverberating through the air back and forth, correlates to the cries of the souls who once glimmered. When we come near, he bellows, "May the force be with you," he says, taking his saber, stabbing the people as they wallow, leaving the blood gushing bodies to rot, lifelessly tipping over into the river, with its current dripping with blood that has clot. When we arrive, the green saber rears behind us, ready to smite the little green man, prepares to make us join the rest of those, filled with lysing pustules. My guide exhales and says, "Halt, as one from the heavens is here and intends to pass through, having good intent." Haphazardly he retracts the reverberating saber with tension. He hesitates and says, "'Tis my role to put people into my beloved river who sinned." My guide, ready to come back with grace, says, "But it seems to be your diminutive size puts you at a disadvantage here." The short man released a sigh. Soon later, we have been let through to the land of those who have committed the sin of murder that thou shalt undergo. Along the river, we see the hands who committed the crime and now are receiving all sorts of punishments in a slough. The first pair of hands I see are those of the notorious serial killer known as Jack the Ripper, so infamous. We arrive and sight his torso, so limp, with his intestines being endlessly ripped away from him. He says, "Looks like you have this same fate as me?" I reply, "No, not us. What is the reason you are here?" He sits there in his misery and cries. He exclaims, "I have taken the lives of innocent people, and now my life has been taken from me as I slowly die." My guide and I begin to vomit at the thought of all these lives that crumbled like composite. I am struck, and feeling weak, I begin to cry. My sight grows dreary, and I feel like I'm going to die.
Last but not least is Joe Mason. His guide is Captain Underpants. His beast is, do I have to do this? Professor Esquire. You'll understand why in a minute. Sin is incontinence. Punishment, they get chased by toilets. The sinner is Elvis. I apologize in advance. Joseph is also 14. He lives in Heath and suffers from an atrial septal defect. Please welcome Joe Mason.
I apologize, this is pretty violent. Me and my Cape guide, into hell we sunk, going deeper and deeper to test our luck. And my guide has underwear that's pre-shrunk. I feel feelings below, and my butt quacks like a duck. I'm realizing now I need to go more than just pee. I'm reminded of it now as I look down on the ground at the brown muck. I tell my guide, who says, "Tra-la-la, I see. It's a scary place that we must go. You know that in hell, there is no TP." As we go farther, I hear flushes from down low, and screams of constipation and fear. What will be there, I do not know. We turn the corner, when what should appear? Professor Pippi Pee Diarrhea Steen Poopy Pants Esquire. He says, "You people can't go here. This man has to go number 2. It's dire. My guide stated quite plain. You can't make us leave, you toilet-worshipping liar. Then in you go, but you must beware the pain. This plunger will help you in that area. The toilets in there are equipped with a brain. We enter a massive bathroom coated in diarrhea. Evil toilets with teeth, that doesn't make sense. Why are they here, Underpants? I have no idea. To you, little boy, this may seem like innocence, but only the wise people know that what these evil fools committed was the sin of incontinence. They did bad to the toilet with their butt, using it every day with no restraint. They could not stop the tugging feeling in their gut. So they get punished by toilets that are giant, running away like fishes swim away from bigger fishes, till they cry. And I ask my guide, why does he have to pay? A guy with gyrating hips and sideburns dances by. Captain says, you should have been there on that day. Elvis died on the toilet, and that is why. Those who died on the toilet didn't clean up the job. I shout at him. I yell and cry. Why are you here with this filthy mouth? He draws closer to me with his guitar. Love me tender, he said with a nod. Just then I realized, without relieving myself, I had gone so far. I fell and passed out on the ground. How bizarre.
Just want to say thank you to the 9th grade for reading and performing and writing all this. And thank you to all of you for being such a wonderful audience.